That's definitely living on a prayer.
100%. That was Jesus Take the Wheel. She stayed at home with our newborn daughter, and I went to a commission-only job.
When's the first money?
We closed our first deal 6 months in, and it was $649 each.
Hey folks, I'm Brooks Derrick, and this is A Lawyer, His Friends, and Food, a show about local business owners, their journeys, and the thing that brings people closer together. Food.
Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I grew up in Claremont, New Hampshire, which is on the Connecticut River side.
I don't even know where the Connecticut River is.
You should probably take a geography class. It's on the border of New Hampshire and Vermont.
Got that. I know that.
So grew up there and went out to Oklahoma for school.
So the Connecticut River is on the border.
It is.
Between two states that are not
So it
connected.
goes all the way from the top of Vermont and goes down the border of New Hampshire and Vermont, goes through Massachusetts and empties into the Atlantic Ocean.
Does it ever touch Connecticut? Oh, there.
Goes through Connecticut. Yep.
Okay, there. Okay, got it. All right.
There you go. You just learned.
Thank you.
Something.
I know where all those places are.
Still a teacher at heart.
All right, so you're from
From New Hampshire.
Sure.
Went to school in Oklahoma, college in Oklahoma, Oklahoma Baptist University, which is in Shawnee, Oklahoma, in Chester, Oklahoma City. We did the 5-year program out there like all the pool kids did. Got it, changed my major 4 times.
Okay.
Originally wanted to do sports journalism, then realized I had to stay up late to do that because all the sporting events started at 9 o'clock at night.
Yes.
And then it was criminal justice, and then it was English, and then it was social studies education. So got a degree in secondary social studies to be a high school registered teacher, and then started my teaching and coaching career out there. How you pick up?
I just... Sorry. This place today. It's Amy.
Hey. I grew up in Ohio, northeastern Ohio, Scottown, near Youngstown, Ohio, which is murder capital USA.
Nice.
I grew up near a farm, so felt pretty safe.
Okay.
But I went to school, high school, graduated, wanted to kind of see other parts of the country. So I ended up in Virginia. I went to Liberty University in the Blue Ridge Mountains and was an elementary education major.
So y'all both have some Jesus education in your
A little bit,
background. Okay.
Yeah, praise Jesus, right?
He's a little...
Born and raised in a Christian family, thankful for that.
Yeah.
So graduated from school there, started my teaching career in Virginia. So I was in Virginia for 5 years.
Okay.
Before we relocated to the Greenville area.
What brought you down here?
So I met my wife at Liberty. We dated through school, kind of did the Christian college thing, got married as soon as we graduated. And
I went to Gardner-Webb, so I'm familiar with this path.
Ring by spring is kind of the expectation.
Okay.
So
I never heard ring by spring, but
I proposed to my wife the night before graduation.
Okay.
So ring by spring. So
That's good.
when we got pregnant with our first child, we started having conversations about where do we actually want to raise a family, because we just kind of gotten comfortable where we were in Lynchburg, Virginia at that time. A lot of our college friends were still there, and kind of just an extension of college life.
Yep.
You know, hanging out on the weekends, bonfires, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we realized it's time to grow up and, put some roots down somewhere. I didn't really feel like going back to Ohio at that point. I'd seen another part of the country where the sky was blue and people were friendly. And I was like, I think I'm going to stay in the South.
Okay, yeah.
My wife was on board with that. And where she was born and raised in Charlotte.
Okay.
And she had family kind of scattered through the Carolinas. So we had visited Greenville. We'd been to Columbia. We'd been to Charleston. We're going back and forth between the Greenville and Charleston area. Ended up settling in Greenville. Figured cost of living was better. Weather was better. Traffic wasn't nearly as bad. Just a lot of things to like for raising a family. So we moved here in 2015.
And did you have a job teaching when you moved here then? Or what were
when I moved here, I started at Taylor's Elementary. So I was a 3rd grade teacher there for 3 years.
All right. And so you're in teaching high school social studies.
High school social studies in Shawnee, Oklahoma. And I was a basketball coach.
And what gets you over here?
So similar scenario, we had our first child. I realized that things were settling down. We wanted to settle in an area that we saw ourselves living in for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And as good of a time as we had in Oklahoma, we knew that wasn't going to be permanent. So we started looking to get back to the East Coast. Because similar to him, we didn't want to go back to New Hampshire. My wife is from New Hampshire as well. Once you can get away from winter, you don't usually go back.
Yeah. Just spurts for skiing or something.
Yeah, exactly. So we narrowed it down to the southeast, and Greenville did a really good job of marketing themselves.
Okay.
We came and visited.
So both of y'all are the people that everybody
Hates.
hates, the resident pages.
Yep. Yeah. We came here, fell in love with downtown. Greenville. Knew we didn't want to live in Greenville, but we wanted to be able to be close enough.
Yep.
So we settled in Simpsonville, and I was offered a job at Greenwood High School. So we were living in Simpsonville. I was driving in Greenwood every day, and my wife was teaching in Greenville County.
Okay.
And we did that for that first year. And at that same time, Dan and I met about 2 weeks after I moved here.
How did y'all connect? How'd y'all meet?
So he made signs on the side as a side hustle as a teacher, like the signs you would see in
Super masculine side hustle, yeah. But
I still have two Daniel Holloway originals.
Not like we buy houses, but like our home is heaven.
Correct. Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
So my wife,
Our home is our heart.
Yeah.
Whatever those pithy things that people have.
my wife got some Facebook advertisement for a trade show that was at the Greenville Convention Center, and we just moved here. So she said, "Hey, we should go check it out."
Okay.
So we hopped in the car and went to the Greenville
He had a
Center. He had a booth, and we stumbled by, and he had a bunch of signs as a display, and they were really good. And so we stopped in and said, "Hey, we're in an apartment right now because we're building a house, so we're not going to buy a sign, but I'd love to have."
If you didn't have one, so like our apartment is.
No, nothing said anything about I love my apartment. So we did buy one. But he had a lot of good stuff, and our wives struck up a conversation, and he said, "Hey, once you guys get settled in," because we told him we just moved here, reach back out, and maybe we go to church and grab dinner or whatever.
Okay.
So a couple weeks later, we reached out, and they said, "Yeah, come on over, let's grab dinner." Ironically, we had Tropical Grill. That was the first time I had Tropical Grill. Thank you, Laz.
I'm surprised you remember that. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. That's the first time having Tropical. And just struck up a conversation from there, realized that we both had masters in administration, thinking that we would both become principals and superintendents one day as a male in the educational field. And the more we talked, the more we realized that we did not like that career choice.
Yeah.
But we both had a passion and love for real estate. I was the 5-year-old kid that went to the grocery store with my mom and always took the house magazine that sat by the door of all the houses that were on the market, and I'd sit in the back seat looking through all the houses that were on the market.
I just think it's really cool that y'all like. It's hard to do, and maybe it's probably because both of y'all were in a place of like not knowing a damn person here, but like the wherewithal to be like, "Hey, I kind of like that guy," and then because it's hard to do that as adults, right? Like right, because like, hey, I'm at a trade show, and I like this guy's stuff. Hey, let's connect. You want to go have some dinner with me? It's like that's commendable.
Yeah. Well, and I think honestly the whole thing, is very much divine intervention. I mean, the fact that it all came together the way it did. We were in the same career field, same age.
And so y'all start talking about daggone real estate that over Tropical Grill, or is that like
not the first while?
That evolved over time.
Yeah.
I guess you probably get comfortable with the other person sharing the fact that you don't like a job, but don't like the career.
We just built a friendship and would get together and commiserate on our experiences in the classroom.
And what were you teaching? What were you doing here?
In Greenwood, I was teaching U.S. history.
U.S. history. Okay.
So he would tell me, I teach third grade or whatever you were teaching at the time, and I would say that sounds terrible. And I would say I teach high school, and he would say that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of connected over the fact that we thought our jobs were terrible.
So how does this? You start talking about the real estate and things like that. Like how does this come to be? Like what's the seeds of this relationship or business relationship?
I think a crucial kind of turning point for both of us is he mentioned we both had our masters in administration, and I felt like the next evolution in our teaching careers. But as we both kind of got into see behind the curtain in administration and the education system in general, and kind of realizing a lot of the deficiencies and what little power we would have to change that, we just kind of become another cog in the wheel.
Yeah.
I think we both started to lose our passion and excitement for what the next 20, 30, 40 years of our lives look like. And so the fact that we were both in virtually identical stages in our career led to just a lot of conversations about like, what else, what could we do? Like, we don't want to sign up for something that we're going to not enjoy and kind of feel like we're stuck in for forever. What other careers can you do with an education degree? And I can't even remember how real estate came into the picture. He obviously had an interest his whole life. We had a rental property when we moved from Virginia. We kept the house that we had purchased there. You're renting it out. There's a podcast out there called Bigger Pockets. And we were like hardcore Bigger Pockets people. It's all about how to kind of build a rental portfolio.
Okay.
Just inspirational stories of everyday people. Teachers, policemen, people in modest salaries that just kind of work hard and hustle and can build a rental portfolio. And that was our dream. That's honestly why
Ryan's over here nodding his head. I thought his wife is a real estate lawyer. So he's very, and he's obviously a podcast junkie, but
so he knows Bigger Pockets. Yeah. And that's kind of to backtrack a minute. That's why we started this whole side hustle on our side of things. Was we knew I was teaching, making a very meager salary. My wife was a stay-at-home mom, so we're trying to raise a family of now 4 at this point on a teacher's salary. And we were Dave Ramsey people, living on a budget, rice and beans. We were making ends meet, but there was very little left over to help us think about buying rental properties. So we started this Etsy shop on the side. We go dig through dumpsters, pull out wooden pallets, bust them apart, which is harder than it sounds.
Yes.
Put them back together. I have a little artistic flair, so I could paint a Bible verse or a pithy saying on it. And then this was before you could go buy them with a 50% off coupon at Hobby Lobby for $12. So I could sell them for like $40 and $50.
Hobby Lobby closed the shop up.
They really did. Thanks, Hobby Lobby.
thanks.
But we started that whole venture to help us kind of save up a nest egg, and then we go buy a rental property with us. At least that was the idea. Little did I know that I would need all of that money to survive whenever we made a career change that was not even on the horizon at that point. So as we would talk and get together and hang out and the kids would play and the wives would talk, when we just kind of realized we both had a mutual interest in real estate. And it was a career path where you could kind of make a complete 180 pivot without having to go back to school, 4 more years of school or go get a master's degree. And we're like, for a couple $1,000, we could go take some evening classes together and see if it's something that we of interest here.
We were sitting, I remember it vividly, because it was the complete change of course of my life.
Right.
We were sitting in his living room, and I remember us saying, what about real estate? Like, we both like real estate. And I remember looking up on my phone, Greenville Tech and real estate classes. And I kid you not, it was like class starts in 2 weeks. And we looked at each other, we're like, let's do it. So, and I didn't have a bunch of funds built up. I don't have an Etsy. I'm not artistic. And so
I'm just a guy.
I called my mom and was like, hey, can I borrow $500 to do this real estate class? And she was like, why do you want to take real estate? That opened up a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. Well, Mom, let's see this.
Yeah. And so
I met a guy.
Yeah, I met a guy. I'm running away. But she gave me the money and signed up for the classes, and we were still teaching all day. I was getting up at 6:30 in the morning and driving to Greenwood, teaching, coming back at 4:30. I would grab dinner quickly with the family, and then classes started at 6 o'clock. We would be at classes from 6 to 10.
Wow.
In the evening. And we did that because that was the only way, right? We did the grind and put the work in, and we were licensed in April.
What year is that?
Of 2018. And I started using, at that point, I knew I wasn't coming back to the classroom. I toyed around a little bit.
What time of the year is this when you're taking the class? And
So we started in January.
started the class in January. Okay.
Second or third week of January.
Okay.
And we were licensed in April. And I guess backing up just a little bit, we thought we were going to go sell houses.
Yeah.
Look what everybody does, right?
Yeah.
Commercial wasn't even on the radar. But the gentleman who taught our class was at the time broker in charge for SBN.
Okay.
He didn't even know that we knew each other, continuing the path of divine intervention here. Didn't even know that we knew each other, that we were friends, that we were signed up and doing the classes together. He pulled us aside independently from one another, and he said, I think you guys have what it takes to do commercial. Have you thought about doing commercial instead of residential?
So he's kind of headhunting you at this point in time, right? He's like,
we
y'all come under my umbrella.
Yeah, exactly. And we had never even thought of commercial.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was a 5-year-old sitting there looking at houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we talked, and we're like, well, maybe we should explore the idea of commercial. And we had another conversation with him. His name is Joe, and he said at that time he'd been in the real estate industry for 40 plus years, and he said that if he could do it all over again, he would have done commercial on day one. And for that right there, because we already respected the guy. He was very intricate for us in the beginning of all this coming together. We looked at each other like, oh, if this guy who was successful for 40 plus years in residential would say that he would do it all over again and do commercial, that's all I need to hear. Yeah.
We kind of felt like we had a fail-safe because it seemed like there's a higher barrier to entry to get into the commercial world. A lot of agents will start in residential and then transition into commercial. We felt like this was an opportunity kind of being placed in our lap.
Yeah.
And we would be foolish not to explore it. We're like, if we don't like it.
And what was the other red eye? SVN?
It was a broker in charge.
Broker in charge. Okay. That's what I was thinking. My brain hadn't recorded that piece of information, I don't think.
So we're like, if we're not good at this or we don't enjoy it, we could always go sell houses. We have the same license to do either or.
Okay. Yep.
And if we are terrible at all of the above, we can go back to the classroom and probably get a job at any school we walk in the door of. So while there was definitely risk involved, we felt like we had a backup plan or an exit strategy in the worst case scenario.
So who quits their job first?
I think we both did around the same time.
Okay.
I put my 2 weeks notice in back in that April. And I still had several job offers that came in from some schools up here. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Because it was safe.
Yeah.
The teaching. And we had committed verbally that we were doing it in this one school. And for the sake of this being public, I'm not going to name it, but that one school called me twice after I rejected them. And I almost called him up and were like, hey, I think I want to do it part-time for a year to kind of build up a nest egg.
Yeah.
And then I did a lot of praying about it and just felt at peace that I needed to just jump in full time.
So both of y'all, you finish the school year, I guess, right? Yeah. You finish the school year and then start working in May, June.
We left the classroom on a Friday in May, and we
started Monday.
All of our lock codes 0601. We started on June 1st. So if you want to,
if I want to go see a property, I had 0601. All right, perfect.
So yeah, we ended on the Friday of our teaching careers and started on Monday in the office.
So tell me about the first month, figuring out how it's going to be, what's income like, all that kind of stuff. Like what happens?
Well, the income is zero.
Right. Yeah. I know that.
It was drinking from a fire hose. When you go through real estate class, because I mentioned the same license, whether you're doing commercial or residential, 98% of the curriculum is tailored towards selling houses. There's virtually nothing in the curriculum about commercial real estate.
I think they talk about cap rates for about...
Yeah, there's maybe a few map equations you have to learn. So when we started, we virtually had to eliminate everything we had just learned and all we had studied to pass the real estate test for and kind of wipe the slate clean and dedicate that first month to just learning everything we could, to the most basic level. So we were reading books, listening to podcasts, or watching YouTube videos. Fortunately, SVN offered a training program for new hires, which was one of the appeals to us of why we even chose the company to begin with, because they got, there were probably 10 or 12 of us that they hired all at the same time, and they put us in a room for a week, and we got to learn from seniors in the company and some of the upper management. It was kind of an informal in-house training program, but it was extremely helpful just to kind of get the basics down. And then from there, we spent the first year sitting at a desk, pounding the phone. I mean, everybody told you through training to survive. You just got a cold call the first year, and it's not going to be fun, but if you do it, it works.
So what's the money like? Your wife is working, right? Or she's
No, so we were crazy. My wife was working, but we decided that we should both quit our jobs and have a baby all within about 10 days of each other. That's
smart.
Yeah, it was a great.
Yes.
So
That's definitely living on prayer.
yes, 100%. That was Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So she stayed at home with our newborn daughter, and I went to a commission-only job.
When's the first money?
So we closed our first deal 6 months in, and it was $649 each. It was the best $649 I've ever made.
What are you doing? I mean, I know he's working his Etsy store at night. What are you doing for money? Like, you got 6 months of no money.
Praying.
Did you have anything set? I mean,
I had some money set aside, but it really was betting on myself.
I mean, okay,
We burned through our savings.
Okay.
We racked up the credit cards.
okay, that's what I was going to say. Like, how do you? I understand that but that's still like betting on yourself is different, and that bet doesn't pay the rent or the mortgage, whatever you had at the time.
I mean, to full transparency, we got to a point right before we started making money where Dan paid my mortgage for me 1 month.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had run out of money.
And other avenues to ask, I imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, I contemplated we talked about Hobby Lobby. I contemplated going and getting a part-time job at Hobby Lobby or doing something in the evening.
And could have worked his Etsy store for him.
I could have gone dumpster diving for it. So I almost got to that point. But it was almost, we got to that where I realized I couldn't do it all on my own, which I was trying to do. And that's when everything started clicking. When I realized, hey, I can't do this all. I need to stop pretending like I can.
Yeah. So first deal. Go ahead.
Before we're about to fully go to that, I was just going to say, we took our wives on a roller coaster ride that I don't think they knew they were signing up for. And I don't think we really knew what we were signing up for either. Everybody told us, hey, you're not going to make any money for the first year. But everybody also thinks they're the exception to the rule.
Yep.
So, I mean, credit to our wives for being supportive of us. So, riding it out, and I'm sure they were probably having side conversations with each other about, is this actually going to work? But, they were nothing but supportive of us the whole time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and we've learned not to tell them everything now. We would have a really great cold call day, and we'd get 10 meetings, and we'd pick up 3 listings, and we'd get a property under contract, and there was a lot of excitement, right? And we'd come home and we'd share all that excitement with them, and then they would get excited, and then 3 days later, hey, that property contract was dropped. Hey, we actually didn't get that listing. He never signed a document. So real estate's a roller coaster, 100%. And so we learned not to take them on the full roller coaster because we want them to focus on what they're doing, right? And you don't need to ride the roller coaster with us. He's my work wife. We ride the roller coaster together, and we let the wives, they're excited when the money hits the bank account.
Yes. But when you get the approval to step in.
Yeah.
So you got what was the deal? The 649 deal?
It was a small lease deal. I don't remember what it was.
I don't either, which is embarrassing. We don't remember we should have framed.
I don't remember the dollar amount, but it was just a super small lease deal. If it was that small, it was probably a 1-year deal.
Yep.
But we were super excited because it was hey, we can do this.
Yeah.
Because you definitely, as you get to 6, 7, 8 months in and you made very little money, you have those doubts of, can I actually do this?
Yeah.
And when you start to see some of the fruits of the labor, even though it's small,
Even if it's ramen.
it gives you that momentum and the confidence to say, hey, I can actually make it in this industry. And it was hard. I mean, we were facing some top dogs in the market. And we knew it was going to be an uphill battle.
So that's the fall of 2019 or the spring of
Spring, summer 2018.
Okay. When do you catch your first wave? When does it feel Like I know there's like this, the 649 deal. Probably next month you might do $1,000 or whatever. When is the next deal, or how does that kind of play out financially?
I think so. We were building a pipeline this whole time, and that's one thing with commercial real estate that a lot of people don't realize is you sell a house that from contract to close, you're looking 30 to maybe 60 days, right? In commercial real estate, 30 days is probably the absolute quickest you'll ever see a paycheck, but most of the deals you do are 90, 120, 180. We've had deals that have gone on for 3 years before we saw any out of it, like me, right? So we were building that pipeline those first 6 months. So I think once we saw that first check hit the bank account, and then we could look and say, well, look, this one's going to close in 2 weeks, and this one's next month, and then we got a big one coming.
That makes some sense here. So as you're going through that first 6 months, that first check hits, you've got some contracts in place, you got some listings out there.
Yeah.
Not like
What's next?
what's happening and here. Oh, we got $600.
Yeah.
Y'all, you have been laying the foundations and like, not just cold calls. Yeah, I'd like to use y'all one day, but it's like, hey, I got this property that I want to sell. Well, but right. So that makes a little bit. So it's not. It's still damn hopeless. I commend your wives.
Yeah. It's a snowball effect.
Right.
And it happens. As long as you put in the work and you do what you're supposed to do, and being former educators, we pride ourselves on a relationship. And
Right.
You know this just because we've been in communication with each other for years now.
Yep.
It's about the relationship. There are too many other brokers out there that they just focus on the money.
Right.
If you focus on the money, yeah, you'll get paid, but the relationship carries you into the next deal and the next deal and the next deal.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where our background has helped us. And, people have always asked
us who you are as humans. I don't know if the education background necessarily is the reason, but yeah.
Well, and we saw that being teachers as a deficiency in the beginning. We wouldn't tell people because we thought that it was detrimental to us having not been, career real estate professionals. We didn't go to school for real estate. But the more we talked with people in the market and the more, we cold called people, they resonated with the fact that we weren't career real estate people. And,
right.
It wasn't the old money in the family, and I was just doing this as a side hustle while I was playing golf and everything or on the yacht. So I think that they appreciated the hustle because teachers, we left the career field for a variety of reasons. Teachers are some of the hardest working people you'll ever meet.
Amen.
And they're completely underpaid and undervalued and over-scrutinized. They should be some of the highest paid people in America.
Grandmama was a first grade teacher, and my grandpa was an administrator.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I get. Take me through you start getting the deals. Take me through that kind of, that wave. How's that?
So I think one thing that was beneficial for us in this was the fact that we had left behind salary jobs, but they were low salary jobs to his last point.
Your nut. I'm sorry about saying that. Your nut was small.
We if I make $40,000, I can pay the bills and we can live because that's what I'm leaving behind.
That was the goal. Replace the teaching salary in year one.
And that felt attainable when we would look at our pipeline and realize, look, we've got deals that are coming. I think we can actually make a go at this and at least break even and be in a job that we're enjoying and have freedom in our flexible schedule to spend more time with our families and travel and do those types of things. So at the end of the day, if all we do is make the same money as we did as teachers, but we are happier, that's a win.
That's a win.
Okay, if we can be more successful and make more money and build something bigger, then obviously that's amazing. But at least we had a low bar set for ourselves. So, we started picking up momentum. To his point, we would build a good reputation in the market just because of who we were as people.
Yep.
I think you'll appreciate this. One of the first things they told us in real estate class was like the most distrusted professions or mistrusted professions is like real estate agents and attorneys and car salesmen. Like we're all lumped into the same category. Right? Once we learned that we could use the fact that we weren't career real estate people to our advantage and share our story and just be authentic with people. We were like, yeah, hey, I was an elementary teacher for 8 years. That resonated with people. And I think helped us to build rapport and trust with clients that,
I'm working like hell for you.
yeah, we had clients to our face tell us in our first meetings with them, I hate brokers. I don't ever want to interact with brokers. And those people ended up becoming lifetime clients and friends of ours because we approached it in a different way.
People are career business people who are buying and selling,
Yeah.
doing deals. And so their exposure to the people or the people you were talking about a minute ago, they're just kind of like here for the money, here for the transaction, do the deal, move on.
Well, and one thing that I think SBN really pushes to emphasize is we actually don't really refer to ourselves as brokers. We like the word advisor because
Okay.
I'm coming hand in hand with you and advising you in this transaction like it were my own.
Yeah.
And that I think helps differentiate us from some of our competition is, we have people say, hey, send me properties to buy. I'm not going to send you something I wouldn't put my own money into.
Right.
If you want to buy something that I don't like, that's your prerogative. But putting our money where our mouth is, and I think that helped our reputation in the long haul is, if I'm sending you something, it's something that I believe in. Well,
You start catching the momentum. I guess this is probably 2019.
Mm-hmm.
When does it feel like we are going to be able to do this? Not like based on looking at our numbers, I think we're going to do it. When do you say, oh, this is
Slam 20?
Year two, year one, I think made like $26,000 or something. And so we didn't replace our teacher salaries, but we knew we were on the trajectory. And again, looking at the pipeline that we had coming,
divided by 2 or 26?
not
do
each. Okay. Yeah, we kind of made a commitment on day one that we're just going to split everything 50-50.
I've wondered this. In SBN, once you get, you come in under that, you came in under Joe, correct? Or is that,
We came under the SBN umbrella. Yeah, we sat in the office, cubicle next to cubicle on day one, and we said, we're partners.
okay. So this is like y'all create a partnership, a partnership in name.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, it was just Dustin and Daniel. We can get to how it evolved to Reedy River.
Yeah. So go back to, starts to catch a little bit of a wave. Tell me about when that kind of feels like, okay, we're rolling.
Yeah, I'd say year two. I guess we essentially, those first 2 years, we would double our income year over year. And it got to a point where we were making what we did as teachers. And then we were making more than we were as teachers. And I think, probably around year 3, when we surpassed our teaching salaries, we're like, okay, this is fun. Like, we're making more money than we've ever made in our life, doing something that we're loving doing. And again, going back to the freedom that this job provides of controlling your schedule, nobody's micromanaging you. I'm accountable to him, he's accountable to me, and that's it.
Yeah.
One thing that we haven't really touched on, but what we kind of committed to on day one was specializing in one specific, what we call asset class in commercial real estate. Because commercial real estate's a huge umbrella. You've got office, you've got multifamily apartments, industrial buildings, mobile home parks, retail properties. I mean, there's a bunch of different asset classes. We chose from the beginning to only focus on retail. And that was advice that came heavily from the SVN network, and the training that we got there is that a lot of people, especially in this market, Greenville is still a smaller town compared to a lot of markets in the country, are more of a generalist.
Yep.
They'll do a little office, a little industrial, a little multifamily. They know a little bit about a lot of things.
Right.
We took the approach of, I don't need to know a thing about an industrial building or an office building or an apartment complex, but I'm going to know everything there is to know about retail.
We wanted to be specialists. We want people, when they think of retail in the Greenville market, we wanted to be the names that people follow.
Right.
Advancing through the years, I think we saw more and more that there was a void of that. Like, there are other brokers in our market, to be fair, that are doing retail and do it very well. But we kind of had this idea, like, what if we really hone in on the fact that we are a team, and eventually we can grow this and become a dedicated retail team in the Greenville market. That's something that doesn't really exist, rather than just being a random broker at this company that's doing retail. So 3 or 4 years into it, we started thinking a little bit more strategically, because everybody just referred to us as Dustin and Daniel, or the teachers, or the double Ds.
Double Ds.
And it's cute, but if we want to make a run at this and actually try to scale this, we need to be a little bit more intentional. So we started brainstorming team names and landed on Reedy River Retail.
This is early 21. So 2020, piggybacking off of what he was saying with the income, I mean, we quadrupled and then doubled. And in 2020, we were the top producers at Fur. And that's when we really started like, all right, we need to figure out how to hone in on what we're doing, who we are.
Yep.
And
How are you, as you're creating this Reedy River thing, right? You're honing in on this marketing. I'm assuming at this point in time, the cold calls have dissipated, and you're doing some other things as well, or like what are you marketing? And tell anyone, how are you marketing your?
Yeah, I mean, we're still cold calling. Cold calling is, I mean, you never stop cold calling.
Okay. And when you say cold calling, is that like I see a vacant building over here, an available sign, or
So, I mean, our cold calling has evolved.
Okay.
So, in the beginning, I mean, we used to sit right next to each other at the cubicle. So, he'd have his computer, I'd have my computer, and I'd be like, hey, I'm going to call Hayward Road today. He'd be like, great, I'm calling Woodby Fur. And we would just call every retail property up and down those corridors.
So what are you saying on that phone call? Hey,
I can't tell you. That's a secret.
I was going to say, it probably is. I don't want you to, share any trade secrets, but like at the very beginning, you're like, just for a dummy who doesn't know where the Canadian River is. Hey, this is, Dustin. I'm out here. What are you saying to the person who answers that?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what.
You're not calling Burger King. You're calling the person who owns the building that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And if it's vacant, obviously you're taking that angle. If it's occupied, you're talking about the investment sale. If it's land, you could pitch to development, like a list that lists this property and get in front of developers. So the angle just depends on property.
Okay.
The goal of the call is always to get a meeting. I mean, that's what they drill in you from the beginning. Okay. So you're not trying to win a listing over the double doll, right? And nobody wants to do business with some random guy that just interrupted their morning workout, right? So it's more of just doing what you can to build some instant rapport.
Yep.
So that you're not an annoyance to them, but bring something of value to them. Let them know about something happening in the market or a new development going on down the street. Mm-hmm. Something that you can bring a value to them, and then, hey, let me buy you a cup of coffee. Okay. Let's go grab lunch.
Yeah.
Because we've always said, if we can get face-to-face with somebody, we feel like we'll win the business 99% of the time. It's hard to do that over the phone.
Yeah. Taking all that to the Reedy River side, what are y'all doing then that is more or different or?
So our cold calling now is more targeted. Okay. In the respects of we've got tenants that we're working with, or we've got particular buyer clients that want us to call on specific assets in a specific trade area. So we're not doing the blanket cold calling like we used to do.
Yeah.
Now it's more honed in on, this particular client of ours wants us to call on these 4 properties over in Easley, or we represent Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' wants to go in this trade area. We market forward with them a couple weeks ago. They want to want us to look at these 3 properties. So still cold calling, but with more of a purpose, if that makes sense.
Not just going like, hey, I'm going to call Hayward Road today. Or I'm going to call East North Street.
Right.
I think we realized, too, the most effective marketing that we could do for us and our brand was to get orange and blue signs on the road. Right?
Yeah.
And so those first few years, we took virtually any listing we could get, whether it was a good listing or a bad listing. Mm-hmm. You would drive around town, and people would make comments to us all the time. I see your signs everywhere. We really honed in on Simpsonville initially because we both lived in Simpsonville. I mean, you could drive up and down Simpsonville and find 15 of our signs around town to the point where we were like saturating the market. So when somebody in Simpsonville has a need, we're going to be top of mind because they're seeing our signs.
Is that intentional or accidental?
Both. Yes. Funny story. We were about 2 years in, and another broker in charge of another firm called the CEO of our company and asked him, who are Dustin and Daniel? And so we get called into his office, and we're like, I felt like we were 2 bad kids going in the principal's office, and we sit down, and you're not gonna just got a call from there to broker in the market, and we're like, what did we do wrong? And he's like, he called me and said, who the heck are Dustin and Daniel and why are they getting all the listings? So that showed that we were disrupting the market, which was our goal, right? We didn't know a soul here. We didn't know who had allegiance to who. We were just calling everything. And it paid off.
That's an interesting twist on the marketing thing, right? Like, because now that you say that, it's true. Y'all's names are everywhere.
Brand awareness. We got to a point where we looked at each other, and I think we had 65 listings between the two of us, and we were just like, this is not sustainable.
Well, that's a good point. Rewind that.
Yeah.
As y'all catch fire, how do y'all sustain? Do you start hiring agents, like administrative assistants? What's that look like at SPN, and how do they support you? And
so we brought in 2 other guys to work with us. We tried on a trial run. It didn't work. We went our different ways. And we went kind of revisited and sat internally and said, why didn't it work? What can we do differently?
Right. This is with 2 people.
So we brought 2 on.
Brought 2 on.
It didn't work.
Those salespeople.
Correct.
All went under there.
Both of them went away. Yeah. So it was back to just the 2 of us. And we kind of sat down and calculated what we could have done differently to help make the process maybe smoother,
right?
Work more efficiently, to continue to grow. Because we realized that we were at a point where we were turning away business that back in 2018 we would have jumped all over. And that's money for somebody. Right. And why are we not taking advantage of that and training somebody in what we have found to be successful in the business,
right?
So they could capture that money as opposed to going to a competitor.
Right.
So that was back in 2022. In 2023, we were kind of going through the process of what does it look like to grow? How do we scale this even bigger? You know, we had once Reedy River was coined, and we started getting that name out there. Business started coming in because we were seen as the retail specialists in the market. And we had visions of getting up into Charlotte and going down to Charleston and continuing to grow it, you know, across the Southeast.
Yep.
And so we decided, okay, we do need to bring somebody onto the team to help us. We tried a virtual assistant, did that for a couple of months, and that did not go well. I think we're very much we need to be able to go sit down in your office and talk to you kind of people, face-to-face interaction, just like you said, the goal of call is to get the meeting.
Yep.
Get face-to-face.
Yep.
And the fact that we were having to email or call somebody in the Philippines when it was 2:00 in the morning over there, we tried it and it didn't work. I know virtual assistants have worked with plenty of people. It just wasn't for us.
Yeah.
So at that point, we brought on 2 additional team members, both brand new to the business. So we knew there would be a significant amount of training required on our end.
These are realtors, or these are...
They both had their license. They were new to business. Yeah. We put out an application on LinkedIn, or I guess a post on LinkedIn.
One of them went full-time into brokering. The other one, we kind of gave him a hybrid role of, hey, you take on a lot of the admin stuff that we need help with. Mm-hmm. And when you're not doing that, you can also go out and get your own deals. Offered him a modest salary. I say modest. I mean, it was the same as I made as a teacher, so I would have been thrilled to have that.
Yeah.
But that really started to free up time for us because we weren't spending 15 hours a week in front of our computer working on contracts and marketing brochures and the types of things that are necessary but are not income-producing tasks, right? We make the most of our time and most ROI when we're face-to-face with somebody winning a new account or meeting with a past client to talk about the next deal.
Right.
Those are the $1,000 an hour tasks that we're really good at, and our time in front of a computer doing a $15 an hour task is not.
Yeah.
Right. And so that, I think, was a turning point for us to realize, like, we should have done this sooner probably, but also, like, this is going to really help us grow and scale this.
Yeah, once you get something like that in place, it's like, oh, this is a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. It was a mentality shift of like, okay, we have to pay this person a salary and give up money out of our pocket to pay that, but realizing we're getting that back many times over because that is allowing us to do more deals or go home early, spend more time, take vacation, whatever, right? The guy that was doing our kind of hybrid role of admin ended up moving to Florida to be closer to family. And so we were suddenly in a position of not having admin again for a little period of time. So at that point, we figured we just need to hire a full-time, dedicated admin marketing person.
Yep.
We did that last year, and that's gone remarkably well.
That's great. That's a good lesson for everybody. Like, and I testament to that too. It's just like, it's really hard to hire the first people. And it's really hard to bring them on and train them when you don't have any training. It's just like, hey, this is what we do. But you don't really have any time or any knowledge or ability to convey that information to them when you're out beating the pavement, right?
Yeah.
But when you do figure it out, it is unlocking like the key to, I mean, I jokingly said, to go home early, but like it is, yes, to go home early. It's your time. Not have to, carry the one at 8:45 after the kids are in bed. You can just sit with your wife and spend time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, what does the business look like? I think you kind of flirted up with the comment earlier about things are about to be different.
Yeah. So the business has gone very well. We continue to increase, the money that we're bringing in year over year. And it was brought to us at the end of last year, the opportunity to actually purchase the SBN office that we work for. And we had toyed with the idea of starting our own firm. But we love the SBN brand. We think it's a great national flag. And we didn't want to leave SBN, which is why the opportunities that were presented, we never pulled the trigger on. So the fact that the opportunity was presented to us at a time where we were getting ready to walk out the door and do something else, I think continues down the road of the divine intervention.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's do this. We've done everything else together at this point. The fact that we can become owners when 7.5 years ago we were teaching in the classroom. We're the number 2 brokerage firm in Greenville, and we are number 3 at SBN Corporate internationally out of 223 offices.
So I'm going to ask you, how many SBNs are there?
223 offices, and we're sitting at number 3.
What is y'all's geographical kind of home?
So
where, or is it?
We've done deals.
How do they structure it? I guess is more like is there like this is your space, don't step out of it, or what does it look like from?
So yeah, we've done deals across the country. Done deals in New Mexico, done deals in North Carolina, done deals in Indiana. We've done deals up in Philadelphia, down in Florida. So we've done deals all across the country, but typically it's in collaboration with a local SBN office. SBN prides itself on collaboration, and we have offices all over the country. So it's not hard to do that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I do really appreciate y'all coming and sitting down and getting to learn about where y'all are at and how y'all got there.
Yeah.